We all know how easy it is to complain, to point out what's wrong, to vent frustration, to focus on problems instead of solutions. But complaining, as familiar as it feels, changes nothing. It traps us in cycles of negativity and helplessness, draining our energy and clouding our clarity. The Stoics taught us a radically different way. Stop complaining, start changing. This isn't about silencing valid concerns or ignoring injustice. It's about shifting our mindset from passive grievance to active agency. It's about recognizing that real power lies not in lamenting the world, but in engaging with it, intentionally, courageously, and constructively. In this episode, we'll explore the Stoic wisdom that invites us to take responsibility for our lives, to focus our energy on what we can influence, and to become the change we wish to see. Because true transformation begins not with complaints, but with action. 1. Complaints change nothing. It's a common human tendency to complain when life doesn't go as we expect, when circumstances frustrate us, or when others disappoint. Our first instinct is often to voice our dissatisfaction. Complaints pour out, sometimes to others, sometimes silently to ourselves, as a way to express frustration, seek validation, or find relief. But despite how natural complaining feels, it is one of the most ineffective responses to adversity. Complaints change nothing. The Stoics, who devoted their lives to understanding how to live well amid life's inevitable hardships, recognized that complaints are a form of mental and emotional inertia. Complaining fixes our attention on what is wrong rather than what can be improved. It anchors us in victimhood, preventing the forward motion necessary for change. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself repeatedly that energy spent on negativity is energy squandered, better invested in virtuous action. To complain is to externalize blame, to project responsibility onto circumstances, people, or fate. It can feel justified. After all, many things are indeed outside our control. But the problem lies in what complaining does to the complainer. It drains mental energy, fosters resentment, and builds a narrative of helplessness. Complaints create a psychological fog that obscures solutions and weakens resolve. In reality, complaining often serves as a shield, a way to avoid confronting the discomfort of change or responsibility. It is easier to grumble about a problem than to face it head-on. Yet this shield is also a cage, trapping us in stagnation. The Stoics taught that true power comes not from lamenting difficulties, but from embracing agency within our sphere of control. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Complaining focuses on what has happened. Action focuses on what can be done next. Breaking free from the cycle of complaint requires conscious effort and discipline. It begins with awareness, catching yourself in moments of grumbling and questioning the utility of those thoughts. Ask yourself, does this complaint move me forward? Does it solve anything? Or does it only drain my energy and cloud my mind? Then, shift your energy to what is within your control. Focus on solutions, no matter how small the steps. Complaints may be comforting, but they do not create change. Action does. This transformation is not always easy. Complaining can be habitual, a default mode reinforced by culture, environment, or personal history. Yet, the Stoic path calls for rigorous self-examination and the courage to break unhealthy patterns. By releasing complaints, you reclaim your power. You sharpen your focus. You cultivate resilience. You become a proactive agent in your own life story, rather than a passive bystander overwhelmed by circumstances. So when faced with challenges, choose this. Instead of complaining, ask, "What can I do?" Then act. Let action replace complaint, and watch how your world begins to change. Not because life becomes easier, but because your response becomes stronger. 2. Action is the remedy. When life throws challenges your way, it's easy to fall into the trap of complaint. You might feel overwhelmed, powerless, or stuck, and the natural response is often to vocalize your frustrations. But the Stoics teach us that complaining, while tempting, is not the solution. The true remedy to hardship and dissatisfaction is action, deliberate, consistent, and aligned with your highest values. Imagine the difference between voicing a complaint and taking a step toward change. Complaints are words, fleeting and powerless. Action is movement. It shapes your reality and transforms your inner world. Marcus Aurelius lived through wars, political intrigue, and personal loss. Yet he continually reminded himself to move forward, to engage with life actively rather than be consumed by lament. This is not a call to reckless haste. The Stoics valued wisdom and discernment. Action must be thoughtful, measured, and focused. It begins with recognizing what lies within your power. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Action is the expression of that reaction when it is rooted in reason and virtue. The challenge is that action demands courage. It requires you to move beyond comfort zones and face uncertainty. Complaining is easy, acting is hard. But every step you take, no matter how small, breaks the cycle of helplessness. It builds momentum, shapes character, and opens possibilities. Furthermore, action grounds you in the present moment. Complaints often dwell on the past or worry about the future. Action pulls you into now, where real change happens. It connects intention with effort and transforms frustration into purpose. This shift from complaint to action also restores power. Complaints drain your energy, leaving you feeling victimized and stuck. Action reclaims your agency, making you the architect of your life rather than a bystander. It turns problems into projects and obstacles into opportunities. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control external events, but we can control our responses. Action is the manifestation of this control. It's the bridge between thought and reality. Without it, reflection remains abstract, and dissatisfaction festers. To practice this, begin by observing your habitual complaints. When you catch yourself grumbling, pause and ask, "What can I do to improve this situation? What is within my power?" Shift your focus from problems to possibilities. Next, commit to consistent effort. Even small actions, repeated daily, compound into meaningful change. Whether it's setting a boundary, learning a new skill, or adjusting your attitude, action creates progress. Remember, perfection is not required. The Stoic path embraces progress over perfection. Failures and setbacks are part of the journey, not reasons to stop. Each attempt is a lesson, each effort a step closer to mastery. As you embody action as your remedy, you cultivate resilience, self-respect, and peace. Your energy is directed toward growth rather than complaint. Your life becomes a testament to the power of deliberate effort. So when frustration threatens to overwhelm you, remember, complaining changes nothing. Action changes everything. Choose to act. Choose to move forward. Be the change you wish to see. 3. Speak only if it improves the situation. Words are among the most powerful tools we possess. They have the ability to heal or harm, to build bridges or burn them, to inspire change or deepen despair. The Stoics, who sought to live lives grounded in reason and virtue, recognized the immense responsibility that comes with speech. They taught that one should speak only when words have the potential to improve the situation, not simply to vent frustration, win arguments, or satisfy a fleeting need to be heard. In everyday life, it's easy to fall into patterns of idle talk, complaining, or reactive speech. We often speak out of habit, emotion, or social expectation rather than intention. Complaints, criticisms, and blame can fill conversations, creating noise that distracts from solutions. The Stoics urge us to cultivate mindfulness in our communication, to pause before speaking and ask, will my words bring clarity, comfort, or constructive change? Or will they only amplify negativity? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminded himself frequently of the power of silence and the importance of careful speech. He wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." This call for self-discipline emphasizes the need to hold oneself to a high standard in speech, ensuring that words align with virtue, wisdom, and compassion. Speaking only when it improves the situation fosters harmony, builds trust, and creates space for meaningful dialogue. It requires deep listening, understanding context, and responding with empathy. It turns conversations into opportunities for collaboration and growth rather than conflict and division. This principle demands courage and restraint. It's tempting to speak impulsively, especially when emotions run high or when we feel wronged. But true strength lies in mastering one's words, choosing them with care and purpose. Restraint in speech is not weakness. It reflects self-control and respect for others. Practically, this means cultivating an awareness of the impact your words can have. Before responding, pause and reflect. What is my intention? Will this response move us closer to understanding or resolution? Is this the right time and place? Such reflection transforms communication into a mindful practice. By committing to speak only when your words improve the situation, you contribute to a culture of respect and positivity. You become a beacon of calm and reason in conversations that might otherwise spiral into negativity. This not only benefits those around you, but also nurtures your own inner peace. Furthermore, aligning your speech with intention and virtue strengthens your integrity. When your words consistently reflect your values, you build credibility and deepen your relationships. People learn to trust and respect you, not because you speak often, but because you speak wisely. Ultimately, the Stoic teaching to speak only when it improves the situation is an invitation to transform communication from a reactive habit into a deliberate, conscious act. It challenges us to recognize the power of words and to wield that power responsibly. In a world filled with noise and haste, this mindful approach to speech is revolutionary. It calls us back to presence, to intentionality, and to the cultivation of harmony within ourselves and our communities. 4. Blame drains power. In the journey of life, it's common to encounter hardships, setbacks, and moments of frustration. When things go wrong, the instinct to blame others or external circumstances is almost reflexive. It feels natural to point fingers, to shift responsibility away from ourselves and onto forces beyond our control. Yet the Stoics offer a profound counterpoint. Blame is a silent thief of our power. It drains energy, clouds judgment, and ultimately leaves us weaker and more vulnerable. Blaming is an act of surrender. It places us in the role of victim, bound by the actions of others or the randomness of fate. When you blame, you give away your agency and your freedom. You become trapped in a narrative where you have little control, a passenger on a turbulent sea rather than the captain of your ship. Marcus Aurelius, who faced immense challenges as emperor, reminded himself to focus on what lies within his power. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This teaching directs us to reclaim our energy and attention from blame and invest it instead in self-mastery. The psychological cost of blame is high. It breeds resentment, anger, and bitterness, poisoning relationships and isolating us from others. When blame dominates our thinking, it creates barriers to empathy, understanding, and reconciliation. It fosters a cycle of negativity that is difficult to break. The Stoics advocate a radical shift. Instead of blaming, turn inward. Examine your own role, choices, and responses. Ask yourself, what can I control in this situation? How can I act with virtue and wisdom? This introspection is not self-flagellation, but an empowering practice of responsibility. Releasing blame is not easy. It requires humility to acknowledge mistakes and imperfections, both in ourselves and others. It demands courage to face discomfort without deflecting it. Yet, in this process lies freedom. A freedom to grow, to heal, and to transform adversity into strength. When you embrace responsibility over blame, you reclaim your power. You become an active agent in your life story rather than a passive victim. This mindset builds resilience, fosters inner peace, and strengthens your character. Practically, begin by noticing moments when blame arises. Observe the emotions and thoughts that accompany it. Then, consciously redirect your focus toward action and acceptance. Use challenges as opportunities to practice patience, courage, and wisdom. This shift does not mean ignoring injustice or wrongdoing. The Stoics recognize the importance of justice and standing for what is right. But even in addressing external wrongs, they maintained focus on personal virtue and response, understanding that change begins within. Ultimately, blame drains power because it anchors us in helplessness. Responsibility empowers because it frees us to act with intention and courage. So, when you feel the pull to blame, pause. Reflect on your sphere of influence. Choose responsibility. Choose power. In this choice lies the path to a resilient and meaningful life. 5. Energy spent complaining is energy lost. Every time we complain, we expend energy. Energy that could be invested in growth, action, and change. Complaining might feel like a release valve, a way to vent frustration or signal distress. But in reality, it acts as a drain on our mental, emotional, and even physical resources. The Stoics understood this well. Energy wasted on complaint is energy permanently lost from the reservoir needed for living with virtue and purpose. Consider how often complaints arise. It might be about circumstances, other people's behavior, or the unfairness of life. Each complaint carries with it a cycle: the complaint itself, the emotional charge behind it, and the mental replaying of the grievance. This cycle not only distracts us, but exhausts us, leaving us depleted and less capable of facing challenges. Marcus Aurelius, amidst the chaos of his reign, reminded himself that wasting time and energy on negativity is a folly. His reflections emphasize that the mind is a resource to be guarded carefully. Complaining depletes that resource, fracturing focus and diluting willpower. When we spend energy complaining, we inadvertently strengthen a victim mindset. The more we dwell on what's wrong, the less empowered we feel to create change. It becomes easier to blame external factors or other people, further reinforcing helplessness. This feedback loop of complaint and blame is a cycle the Stoics urge us to break. Instead, the Stoic way is to conserve and redirect energy. Every moment spent in complaint is a moment lost from purposeful action. Energy is precious. It fuels discipline, resilience, and virtue. By guarding it jealously and investing it wisely, we empower ourselves to respond effectively to life's challenges. Practical steps to preserve energy include cultivating awareness of complaint triggers. Notice when your mind begins to drift into negativity or rumination. Challenge the usefulness of those thoughts. Is this complaint solving anything? How does it serve me? Reframe the situation with focus on solutions or acceptance. Moreover, practicing gratitude and mindfulness can replenish energy that complaint drains. Gratitude shifts perspective, reducing the perceived weight of difficulties. Mindfulness anchors the mind in the present, reducing the tendency to replay grievances. Physical well-being is also linked. Complaints and negative emotions activate stress responses that tax the body. Conserving energy by minimizing complaint supports not only mental but physical health. In relationships, excessive complaining strains connections and drains collective energy. By choosing constructive communication over complaint, we foster harmony and mutual support. Ultimately, energy spent complaining is energy lost to growth and happiness. The Stoics invite us to reclaim this energy, to focus it on what matters, and to transform frustration into fuel for positive change. So, when the urge to complain arises, remember, your energy is your power. Protect it, redirect it, use it to create the life you desire. 6. Fix what you can, release what you can't. One of the most profound teachings of Stoicism is the clear distinction between what is within our control and what is not. This understanding is the foundation for serenity and effective action. Trying to fix what you cannot change is like pouring water into a sieve. Effort wasted, frustration guaranteed. Conversely, releasing what lies beyond your power frees your mind and heart to focus where it truly matters. The Stoics call this distinction the essence of wisdom. Epictetus famously said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This isn't passive resignation, but active acceptance, a conscious choice to engage with life realistically and constructively. When faced with challenges, it is tempting to exert control over every detail. We grasp at outcomes, try to manipulate situations, and resist what is uncomfortable or uncertain. But this resistance drains energy and breeds anxiety. It blinds us to opportunities and obscures judgment. Fixing what you can means recognizing your sphere of influence. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions, these are yours to direct. When you invest energy here, you build strength and progress. You become an agent of change, shaping your life through deliberate effort. At the same time, releasing what you can't fix means surrendering attachment to external events, other people's decisions, and outcomes beyond your reach. This release is not defeat. It is a strategic retreat of the mind, a way to conserve energy and preserve peace. Marcus Aurelius, confronting the chaos of empire, reflected often on this balance. He urged himself to focus on virtue and duty, areas within his power, and to accept whatever fate delivered. This mindset brought resilience amid turmoil and clarity amid confusion. Practicing this balance requires self-awareness and humility. It calls for honest evaluation of situations and your role in them. Ask yourself, what aspects can I influence? Where am I trying to control the uncontrollable? Let this guide your effort. Releasing what cannot be fixed also requires trust. Trust in the natural order, trust in the flow of life, and trust in your own capacity to endure. This trust cultivates serenity and reduces suffering. This approach transforms your relationship with adversity. Instead of fighting endlessly against reality, you engage with it skillfully. You conserve your energy for meaningful action and let go of futile struggle. Moreover, this wisdom extends to emotional well-being. Anxiety often stems from trying to control the uncontrollable. Acceptance, in contrast, creates space for peace and clarity. In relationships, this principle fosters compassion and respect. You accept others as they are while focusing on your own conduct. This reduces conflict and deepens connection. Ultimately, to fix what you can and release what you can't is to live in harmony with reality. It is the path to freedom, power, and tranquility. So today, embrace this balance. Focus your effort where it counts, and let go gracefully where it doesn't. In doing so, you honor the Stoic way and your own peace. 7. Be the change, not the echo. In the noise and clamor of the world, it's all too easy to become an echo, a mere reflection of what others say and do. Complaints, fears, judgments, and negativity ripple through societies, creating cycles of despair and stagnation. The Stoics challenge us to rise above this pattern, to cease echoing the world's grievances, and instead to embody the change we wish to see. This is not just a call to action, but a call to transformation. A transformation that begins within. Echoes are passive. They require no courage, no reflection, no commitment. They multiply the very problems that plague us. When we simply mirror complaints or amplify fears, we become unwitting participants in the perpetuation of discontent. This endless reverberation of negativity drowns out clarity, hope, and progress. The Stoic path is active and intentional. It asks us to take ownership of our thoughts, words, and actions, to become leaders of change, not by force or coercion, but through the quiet power of virtue and example, to live with integrity, courage, wisdom, and justice every day. Marcus Aurelius, amid the turmoil of empire, reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This powerful admonition cuts through debate and calls for embodiment. Change is not a theoretical concept. It is lived through consistent practice. To be the change requires deep self-awareness. It demands that we observe when we fall into the trap of echoing, when we parrot fears without examining them, when we join in complaints without seeking solutions. Mindfulness creates the space to break these patterns, allowing us to respond rather than react. Change is not instantaneous. It is a process of gradual transformation that unfolds with patience and persistence. The Stoics understood that growth is often slow and fraught with setbacks, yet each deliberate action contributes to momentum and strength. Being the change also means embracing responsibility for the impact we have on others and the world. It means choosing words carefully, acting with intention, and embodying values even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. This principle transforms not only individuals, but communities. When more people embody change, they create ripples of influence that can reshape societies. The presence of calm, reasoned, and virtuous individuals becomes a stabilizing force amid chaos. Practicing this requires courage, to stand apart from the crowd, to resist cynicism, and to persist in doing what is right. It requires humility to recognize one's own flaws and the willingness to grow continually. By refusing to be an echo, you reclaim your power and agency. You become a source of light rather than noise, a builder rather than a destroyer. Your life becomes a testament to the Stoic ideal, living with purpose, presence, and integrity. So today, commit to being the change. Lead by example. Choose your words and actions with care. Inspire through the quiet strength of consistent virtue. In doing so, you do not merely survive the world, you transform it, beginning with yourself. 8. Practice gratitude over grievance. Gratitude is one of the most transformative practices the Stoics embraced, a powerful tool to shift the mind away from complaint and into a state of peace and resilience. It's not about ignoring life's hardships or pretending all is perfect. Instead, gratitude invites us to consciously acknowledge the good amidst the difficulties, to see abundance rather than scarcity, and to cultivate a mindset that nurtures joy even in adversity. When we allow grievance to dominate, it acts like a magnifying glass that enlarges problems and shrinks our capacity to cope. Complaints echo in our minds, creating a storm of negativity that clouds judgment and saps energy. This fixation traps us in a cycle of dissatisfaction, making it difficult to find contentment or motivation to improve. The Stoics taught that this cycle can be broken by the deliberate practice of gratitude. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to receive without pride and let go without attachment, a reminder to appreciate what is while accepting what cannot be changed. Gratitude is a balancing act, recognizing the value in our lives without clinging or denying reality. This practice begins with mindfulness, a purposeful pause to reflect on what we have learned, and what sustains us. It could be the simple breath that fills our lungs, the warmth of sunlight on our skin, the kindness of a friend, or the lessons learned from past challenges. Each of these is a thread in the fabric of life worth appreciating. Gratitude also builds resilience. When faced with hardship, recalling even small blessings fortifies the spirit. It replenishes hope and provides emotional resources that help us endure and adapt. In this way, gratitude becomes a reservoir we can draw upon when life feels overwhelming. Furthermore, gratitude deepens our connections with others. Recognizing the good in people fosters empathy, patience, and kindness. It softens resentment and opens the door to forgiveness and understanding. The Stoics believed that by cultivating goodwill, we contribute to a harmonious society and nurture our own tranquility. Importantly, gratitude does not negate the need to confront injustice or personal pain. The Stoics acknowledged suffering as part of life and encouraged us to meet it with courage and wisdom. Yet, by holding gratitude alongside struggle, we maintain a broader perspective and preserve inner calm. Incorporating gratitude into daily life can be practical. It might involve keeping a journal, expressing thanks aloud, or taking moments throughout the day to notice and appreciate the positive. Over time, this habit rewires the mind to seek goodness, balancing the natural tendency to focus on threats and problems. This shift in perspective makes life richer and more meaningful. It grounds us in the present moment and connects us to a larger flow of existence. It allows us to find joy not just in triumphs, but in everyday experiences and relationships. So today, Choose gratitude over grievance. Let it be the lens through which you view your life, transforming challenges into opportunities and scarcity into abundance. By practicing gratitude, you align with the Stoic path, a path of wisdom, peace, and enduring strength. 9. Complaining magnifies problems. Complaining is a familiar human response to discomfort, disappointment, and injustice. At first glance, it may seem harmless, a way to vent, to share frustrations, or to seek empathy. However, the Stoics saw complaining as more than mere expression. They understood it as a cognitive and emotional process that magnifies problems beyond their true size, distorts reality, and traps us in cycles of negativity and helplessness. When you complain, your mind focuses intensely on what is wrong. Complaints act like a magnifying glass, enlarging difficulties, emphasizing setbacks, and amplifying the perceived severity of challenges. This magnification creates a feedback loop. Each complaint reinforces the sense that problems are overwhelming, insurmountable, and unchanging. The more you complain, the bigger your problems feel, and the more powerless you become. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who faced wars, political conspiracies, and personal loss, reminded himself that suffering arises not from events themselves, but from judgments about those events. Complaining is a form of judgment that colors reality negatively, creating unnecessary suffering. This distorted perception is dangerous. It clouds your judgment, saps your energy, and inhibits your capacity to respond effectively. Complaints often immobilize rather than mobilize. They breed frustration, resentment, and despair, leaving you stuck rather than empowered. Moreover, complaining can become habitual, a mental pattern reinforced over time. It becomes the default response to challenges, eroding resilience and optimism. This habitual negativity is contagious, influencing not only your mindset, but also the attitudes of those around you. The Stoics counseled shifting focus from complaint to objective assessment. Instead of dwelling on what's wrong, cultivate the ability to see problems clearly, without exaggeration or distortion. This clarity enables reasoned responses rather than reactive despair. Breaking free from complaint requires mindfulness and discipline. Notice when your thoughts turn to grievance. Question their validity and utility. Is this complaint helping me solve the problem, or only making it feel worse? Shift attention to what can be changed, and accept what cannot. Reducing complaint improves mental and emotional health. It conserves energy for constructive action, fosters peace of mind, and strengthens resilience. It creates space for gratitude, hope, and creativity. In social contexts, minimizing complaint fosters harmony and collaboration. Complaints can fuel conflict, division, and cynicism, but a focus on solutions encourages cooperation and positivity. Choosing to complain less does not mean ignoring problems or suppressing emotions. The Stoics acknowledged the importance of acknowledging reality fully, but they emphasized responding with wisdom and virtue rather than reactive negativity. In practice, this means cultivating habits that promote calm reflection and constructive action. It means speaking thoughtfully, listening deeply, and focusing on what serves growth. Remember, complaining magnifies problems, but perspective and action diminish them. By changing your mindset, you change your experience. So, when the urge to complain arises, pause, reflect on its effects, choose clarity over distortion, hope over despair, and watch how your problems begin to shrink. 10. Focus on contribution, not critique. One of the most profound shifts the Stoics encourage is moving from a mindset of critique to one of contribution. Critiquing, especially when it takes the form of complaining, blaming, or fault-finding, often serves to divide, to sow discord, and to trap us in negativity. Contribution, on the other hand, is active, creative, and constructive. It is about building, helping, and adding value to the world around us. When we focus on critique, we place ourselves in a reactive stance, constantly evaluating what is wrong or lacking. This posture drains our energy and narrows our perspective. It is easier to point out flaws than to seek solutions. Yet, the Stoics remind us that true power lies not in judgment, but in action. Marcus Aurelius exemplified this shift. He lived in a world rife with challenges, yet dedicated himself to serving the greater good, focusing on what he could offer rather than what he could criticize. His meditations are filled with reflections on duty, responsibility, and the importance of acting for the common welfare. Contribution demands self-awareness and humility. It requires acknowledging that perfection is unattainable, that mistakes will happen, and that the path to improvement lies in effort and compassion. By embracing this mindset, we transform frustration into motivation and passivity into engagement. This focus reshapes relationships as well. Instead of criticizing others, we look for ways to support, encourage, and uplift. This fosters trust, cooperation, and harmony, strengthening communities and bonds. Practicing contribution over critique also nurtures personal growth. It invites us to focus inward, improving ourselves so that we can better serve others. It aligns with the Stoic ideal of living virtuously, not just for oneself, but for the benefit of all. In daily life, this principle can be applied by asking, how can I add value here? What positive action can I take? It shifts attention from problems to possibilities, from obstacles to opportunities. The Stoics understood that while critique can be necessary for learning and correction, it must be balanced with constructive contribution. Without contribution, critique becomes empty noise. Without critique, contribution lacks direction. Ultimately, focusing on contribution empowers us to live with purpose and integrity. It is a call to embody the change we wish to see, to create rather than destroy, and to be active participants in shaping a better world. So, choose today to focus on what you can give, not just what you perceive as lacking. Let your energy flow toward building, healing, and growing. In this choice lies the essence of Stoic wisdom and the path to a meaningful life. Life often tempts us into the easy trap of complaint, blame, and critique. It's natural to focus on what's wrong, to voice dissatisfaction, and to seek relief in venting frustrations. Yet, the wisdom of the Stoics calls us beyond this cycle. It invites us to redirect our energy from complaint to action, from blame to responsibility, from critique to contribution. Each complaint drains power that could fuel change. Each blame distracts from the power we hold within. Each critique, without constructive purpose, perpetuates division rather than healing. The path of the Stoic is one of mindful engagement, of speaking and acting only to improve, to build, to grow. This journey demands courage, the courage to face reality without denial, to accept what cannot be changed, and to act decisively where we can make a difference. It requires patience, the patience to transform habits of negativity into practices of gratitude and intentionality. It asks for humility, to acknowledge our own imperfections and commit to continual growth. By choosing action over complaint, responsibility over blame, and contribution over critique, We reclaim our power and align ourselves with nature's flow. We cultivate resilience in the face of adversity and cultivate peace amidst chaos. Remember, the true measure of a life well lived is not how much we complain about the world, but how much we contribute to its betterment. Each moment offers a choice: to remain a passive observer of problems or to become an active creator of solutions. Let this be your call to action. Stop complaining. Start changing. Speak with purpose. Own your power. Contribute with heart. In doing so, you don't just navigate life, you transform it. You don't just endure the world, you enrich it. And in this transformation lies the essence of Stoic wisdom and the path to a life of meaning, peace, and true freedom.